because after all we have to serve our 140 million people.
But during Trump's era, tariffs aren't just taxes. These are the power moves, weapons for trade wars, for great negotiations, and yes, sometimes tweetable threats that shook the economies worldwide.
Trump always think about America first, and business is first and business is last.
Can we learn diplomacy from the Trump playbook? Can taxes double as foreign policy? And most importantly, can emerging countries like India in particular take note or take cover? Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Rdias Unplugged, where we discuss everything that's trending, be it social media, infotainment, business, education, politics, and the like. So what are we discussing today? What are we here for? Any guesses? Well, the buzzword is tariff. That one word which literally sends people either back to sleep or maybe back to the stock market. But during Trump's era, tariffs aren't just taxes. These are the power moves, weapons for trade wars, for great negotiations, and yes, sometimes tweetable threats that shook the economies worldwide. So today we are asking, can we learn diplomacy from the Trump playbook? Can taxes double as foreign policy? And most importantly, can emerging countries like India in particular take note or take cover? Welcome to the podcast on tariff tactics, learning diplomacy from the Trump playbook. I'm your host Rita Mehta, and joining me today is Dr. S.P. Sharma, Chief Economist at NEO Economist, someone who has spent decades studying how economics and geopolitics collide. Dr. Sharma, elated to have you on board with us today. So, deal or no deal about the Trump's tariff playbook. Let's start with the man himself, Donald Trump. When he came to office, his approach to trade was somewhat unconventional. Tariffs became front page news and foreign policy tools overnight. So, Dr. Sharma, in your view, what exactly defines this Trump's tariff strategy? Was it a tactical genius or a diplomatic chaos or a mix of both?
The recent Trump tariffs are not new for me, as these are causing tariff troubles. I was studying such kind of scenarios since 2018, when trade war between China and US happened. And that was again a great quagmire of tariffs between China and US. And that impacted the whole world economy.
Absolutely.
That too significantly, 0.8% of global GDP.
Right.
That becomes at around 0.7 trillion, huge. And world economy was in slowdown, China was in slowdown. But before that trade war settled, the whole world was hit by the pandemic coronavirus.
Right.
And thereafter countries were busy to tackle their health scenarios. And it took around 2-3 years to settle that pandemic impact in 2021 and 2022. But again, before that impact settled, the whole world was hit by the geopolitics,
Right.
war between Russia and Ukraine, and thereafter war between Israel and Gaza, and Israel-Iran, Israel-Lebanon. But before that quagmire of geopolitics settled, again we are in a tariff war between US and many countries in the world economic system. So, whole scenario started from the, I would say, trade war of 2018,
Right.
and then the pandemic, and then geopolitics, and again now a severe trade war is in limelight.
Okay, so coming from this, would you say that Trump rebranded tariffs from dull policy tools into instruments of global leverage? I mean, what message was he trying to send to his allies and rivals alike?
Trump always think about America first, and business is first and business is last for them. And they realized that countries are exporting to US and they are not paying that much for this opportunity. So that's why they consider that US is a great market and the largest economy in the world economic system, with a size of more than 29 trillion in a global economy of 115 trillion. And their presence is very, very high, more than 25% in global GDP. So that's why now they are giving great importance to its access, that the country should be able to get access and pay more to enter in the US market.
Right.
So that's why now the tariffs are becoming more prominent. Not only prominent, but also creating turbulence in the economic environment in the global ecosystem, volatility in the financial markets, and uncertainties in the many asset classes.
So was he able to achieve what he was trying to achieve economically and strategically?
I don't see any country is going to be benefited from such kind of trade wars, because trade wars are not in favor of anyone. Trade is to create welfare for the people, not to create troubles for the people, for the traders or the investors or the economy. So this is a great tussle, I would say, and this should settle in the coming times. Otherwise, this is going to impact the world economy significantly. Not only the world economy, but US also.
Right.
US will face a severe hit, as increased tariffs will escalate the inflationary expectations and impact the retail market and their scenario of the interest rates, because inflation tolerance is not that much high in US. They will face such trouble that economy is slowing down and they are not able to their ambitious targets of economic prosperity.
Let's bring lens closer to home, India, right? So India watched Trump's playbook play out, right? So sometimes in the headlines or sometimes even in our backyards. Do you think India can or should borrow anything from this tariff-driven diplomacy, especially in dealing with trade deficits or maybe powerful partners?
India is a resilient economy. India always behave in the world economic environment, whether trade war is happening or the geopolitics is happening or the Red Sea happens. India's economy remains resilient. Despite the headwinds of last year, a great geopolitics between many countries and the spread of geopolitics month after month, then troubles in the Red Sea, Indian economy remained resilient.
Right.
And that is also reflected through numbers. We have a export chunk of $821 billion last year in 24-25. A great growth over $778 billion in 24-25, 23-24. So India's resilience and India's approach and India's patience in such kind of scenarios makes it more and more dynamic and resilient in the global ecosystem.
And advantages also.
And that advantages also, because as I mentioned that in 2018 there was a trade war between China and US, and we were 2% of the global exports of goods and services
Right.
in 2018.
Right.
And now this participation is 2.5% after 5-6 years. So we are more connected with the global supply chains. we are more dynamic, we are more competitive, the support of various policies of the Government of India and efforts of the trade and industry, and opportunities in the global market. So India's resilience is reflected by the hard work of the people and trade and industry. And India captures the global opportunity as India is a patient country. India is always look at the peace, and that goes to explore the opportunities in the global market.
Talking about exploring opportunity, so you mentioned about America first, right? There's been talk of Atmanirbhar Bharat as India's own economic pivot. So, do you see any similarities between Atmanirbhar Bharat and America first?
Right, because our policy is Atmanirbhar Bharat and self-reliant India. That should be because we have a great ambitious plan of Viksit Bharat, developed economy by 2047.
Right.
And our efforts are intact, and our economic parameters, our economic fundamentals are very, very strong at this juncture. Our GDP is more than 8% on an average during the last 3 financial years. We grew at 9.7% in 21-22, thereafter 7% in 22-23, and then 8.2% in 23-24. Now, in the last financial year, estimates are that we will grow somewhere between 6.5 to 7%. So our efforts are to build a resilient India and self-reliant India. And our journey towards Viksit Bharat is becoming more and more dynamic each day. Now, such kind of developments, like sometimes the war, or sometimes the trade war, or sometimes the headwinds of the high inflation or the high interest rates, are not impacting India in a significant way, as our economy holds great resilience with the support of its consumption segment, with its support of domestic market. We are not that much dependent on exports, but we are going to become self-reliant. We are boosting our domestic capacities, indigenous production possibilities, so that dual target is achieved. Firstly, we are becoming Atmanirbhar, we are becoming self-reliant with the indigenous capacities, and second, we are becoming more competitive in the international market, and also our journey towards Viksit Bharat becomes more and more strong.
So, in between, do you think that are we too much protective of our markets, like Atmanirbhar Bharat or America first? So, is it like overprotection of our markets?
No, I don't see that. I don't see that we are overprotected and we are hesitating from the world economic developments. India is one of the most liberalized countries, and India is one of the most integrated countries in the global economy. That is reflected from our current account, current receipts, current payments, capital receipts, capital payments. If we club these four, then our total chunk of these current receipts and current payments, current capital receipts and capital payments becomes more than 100% of our GDP. That is the integration or integratedness with the global market, that we are more and more global. And we are not restricting the imports also. You can see the China flood in the Indian market last many years, though now diminishing, but we have not stopped any import. So our liberalized environment can be observed from our trade deficit also. We are always in trade deficit. We import more and export less because of our high demand in the domestic economy. We are a consumption-driven economy. So I don't see we are protective, but we are behaving in a compliance mode. we are creating the level playing field for our manufacturing, because after all we have to serve our 140 billion people, 140 crore people, and create opportunities for them, employment opportunities, livelihood opportunities, and level playing field for our manufacturers, for our industry people. We have improved a lot in ease of doing business from 142 to 63 in the recent years, and we are reducing the cost of doing business significantly. But we are not protective. We are open, and we find the opportunities in the global market, and we give the opportunities in the domestic market with a great level playing field.
Okay, so our Gen Z understands their labels. Okay, so I'll say that it's a shift that they have seen from Instagram boomerangs to economic boomerang now. So some say that tariffs are like boomerangs. You throw them to hurt others, but they ultimately bounce back. So in practical terms, how do tariffs impact domestic inflation, employment, and other economic factors if we have to explain it to the Gen Z, which is around us?
We are not imposing the tariffs actually, but we are responding to the global developments, and we have not retaliated on the US increased tariffs, though they have imposed 26% tariffs, and our average tariff is also going to be increased significantly. Before this development, our average tariff faced in US was at around 2.2%, but now the weighted average will be 12.2%, an increase of 12% percentage points in our tariffs to be faced in the US market. But we are not retaliating anything, but we are also trying to settle this high tariff structure with the bilateral trade agreement with US. I think that will be a great give and take between US and India. But we are very peaceful, and we are behaving in the international or global developments in a manner which should be for the welfare of the people, not only in India, but for the global community.
Okay, so this is one thing which I'm pretty sure that our college students particularly will be looking forward to, because they are into a lot of trading. Okay, so let's rewind to 1987, Black Monday. Okay, a historic market crash that literally sent shockwaves globally. Fast forward to 2018. Just one tweet from Donald Trump for China, and it wiped out billions from the stock market. Again, 7th of April 2025, we have Black Monday, and the entire social media was filled with memes like orange is the new black. So, Dr. Sharma, how do events like Black Monday in particular, they help us understand how sensitive markets are to the policy shocks, particularly the tariffs which have been imposed?
Markets are difficult or troublesome for the speculators. Markets are a great opportunity for the investors. I'm giving you the instances of 1991 when we adopted the policy of LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Our markets, our Sensex was less than 1,000 on 1st January 1990. Now we have a Sensex of 87,000. Though there are some corrections or the volatility, but we achieved the number of 87,000 or somewhere between 86 to 87,000. Our exports were less than $20 billion in 1991. Now, as I mentioned, our exports are $821 billion. Our GDP was $270 billion, but now our GDP is $4.3 trillion. So, speculators face problems, but the investors explore the opportunities.
Right.
I don't see that any crisis global crisis or the global headwinds are going to impact the trajectory of Indian markets, as we have recovered significantly after every crisis.
Absolutely.
You can see the crisis of Lehman Brothers in 2008.
Right.
Our markets decelerated. There was a free fall
Yes.
in the month of October 2008. More than 30-35% deceleration in our market. But in the next 6 months, markets recovered significantly, more than 50-60% in the next 6 months of the crisis. And recently, the crisis of coronavirus.
Right.
We observed that there was again free fall in the markets in the month of March 2020. Markets decelerated more than 50-60%. But the recovery was more than 70-80% in the next 6 months.
Right.
So our markets bounced back significantly, though volatile in the crisis days, with the panic selling by, I would say, speculators or the traders.
Right.
But markets are providing a great opportunity to enter in the times of crisis. One should invest when such falls are happen. And because our fundamentals are very strong. India is a great opportunity in the world economic system. Our markets are resilient, our economy is resilient, and our economic fundamentals are very resilient. Our inflation trajectory is coming down. Now inflation is 3.3%, and this number is 5 years low. So going forward, there is a great opportunity in the global market to connect more, and for investors to invest more in such scenarios.
Absolutely. So since you're talking about economic fundamentals, so that means today's markets, they are they actually reacting to these economic fundamentals which are quite theoretical, or is it because of any unpredictable diplomacy which we are seeing right now?
I think this is because of unpredictable diplomacy, which caused the news-based volatility in the market.
Absolutely.
Nothing is happening in actual, but the news are spreading the volatility and panic in the markets. And like during the last 5-6 months, we are observing a significantly high volatility, extremely volatile markets. But in actual, the actual happenings are very less as compared with the news or the spread of news within the territory of tariffs, whether between India and US or the US and other countries. There is again a 90 days pause in the tariffs.
Right.
So, but the news are creating a significant volatility in the markets across the world.
So it's traders versus tariffs, right? So I can say that it's a kind of love-hate relationship between traders and
Right.
tariffs. Can Indian investors or institutional investors in business houses, can they hedge against the unpredictability of this tariff-based diplomacy, or is it the new normal that they have to go through or accept?
I would say they are more cautious, and they also hedge in the market, and this is not new for them. They face many such kind of crises, like in 2020 they faced the coronavirus. Before that, 2008 Lehman crisis, and some volatility in between because of some trouble between geopolitics between some countries. So now this will become the new normal for them, that this is going to happen after every 2-3, because now global fundamentals or global economy or the global developments are very dynamic. Now global economy or global financial markets are changing each day. Again, every morning there are new fundamentals and new approaches and the new strategies to behave in the economic system or the financial system. So they are also becoming resilient to behave in such a tedious scenario, to explore the opportunities and to capitalize on the such kind of developments.
Okay, so I should say that whenever any big player seizes India catches the gold, at least our stock markets. So, looking ahead, Dr. Sharma, how should India prepare both economically and strategically for a world where trade wars are back on the table?
We have built our resilience since the last many years. There are great reforms starting from, if I am going back to the 60s, 70s, we were very slow. And as nature of Indian economy is to move from slow to steady, then fast to fastest. We were slow in the 60s, 70s or 80s.
Yeah,
Then we
I
were
remember
fast.
it being called elephant
Yes,
economy
yeah.
during that time.
And after the 91 reforms, we were fast. And now, in the recent years, we are very, very fast and the fastest moving economy in the world economic system. And recently, during the last decade, we have built our fundamentals significantly, starting from the reforms of Make in India, thereafter Startup India, then Atmanirbhar Bharat, PLI. Now we are approaching towards Viksit Bharat. So all these reforms are supporting the economy significantly and creating resilience of the economy. So going forward, we have to look at three major themes. Firstly, ease of doing business, in which we have improved a lot from 142 to 63. But that should happen in the factories, in the machines. And that should be percolated at the factory level. And that will help to the businesses to move forward and to enhance their production possibilities. Second is the cost of doing business. There are 5-6 costs which are affecting the price cost margins and competitiveness of the manufacturers. Though there are reforms and these costs are coming down, but still we have to go a long way to strengthen our manufacturing sector, to reduce the cost structure and to make them more and more competitive in the domestic and international market. And third is the connectivity with the global supply chains. We should strengthen our connectivity significantly. Sometimes we produce the goods, but we are not able to export them in the international market because of the lesser connectivity with the global supply chains. So we have to connect more with the global, particularly the global supply chains. Though we are significantly integrated with the global economy with our financial transactions and the other like the free trade agreements, but supply chain should be strengthened more to capture or to explore the global market opportunity.
Okay, so the ease of doing business, cost of doing business, and connectivity to the global supply chain. Very well said. Crystal ball time, Dr. Sharma. We have seen the playbook, we have seen the players, and we have seen the aftershocks. So what now? Do you think that we are actually entering the era of tariff diplomacy 2.0? And if so, what should emerging economies like India be ready for?
I think resilience is the most prominent word. Resilience with patience will be at the top of the agenda at this juncture. To create resilience and to remain peaceful, because now many things are happening. Not only the trade war, but the actual wars are also happening between many countries. So we have to, economically, we have to create resilience, and in other war is happening between many countries. So we have to be push peace and spread peace that we always do in the many economies in the world economic system. That India is a great country, and India is supporter of the peace in the global economic environment and global political environment and global geopolitics. So global peace is the most prominent word at this time to be looked at, so that the welfare is greater and countries remain in peace, and livelihoods are becoming more and more strong for the welfare of the people.
Okay, so two things that I would like to ask here. If you were to draft a new diplomacy playbook for India, What is that one lesson that you will steal from Trump and one that you would definitely stay?
I would focus more on the diversification, that countries should not be dependent on a few countries, or bilateral relations should be more diversified. And the give and take in the talks, or the lovely talks, should be avoided. Actual things should be focused, and how the countries behave in such kind of scenarios with each other.
Alright, before we wrap up, Dr. Sharma, let's have a quick rapid fire round. I promise there wouldn't be any tariffs on time. Okay, tariff in one word.
Troubles.
Trump's trade strategy, genius, gamble, or both?
Both.
Okay. More dramatic, US-China trade war or IPL auction?
US 10.
A country that handled tariff pressure quite well.
India.
Surprisingly well.
Yes.
Okay. A movie or series that unintentionally teaches economies well, or economics well, I should say.
Can't say.
Yeah, that's fine. Dr. Sharma, this has been quite an enriching session. Thank you for taking us through the serious, strategic, and little absurd side of global trade. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this deep dive into the Trump tactics of tariffs, tune into us, leave your review, and keep tuning in